All right, show me the money. NFL picks for week 14 are here. Regular season starting to wind down. Join me today to make some picks here. Great friend of the podcast, legal correspondent Phil Fraietta is here. Phil, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mike. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming on here. And obviously, it's not been a good season for New York football here. Both our teams sort of seen preseason and high hopes go down the tubes here. But it's oddly enough, it feels like the Giants are in a better spot than the Jets are after 12 weeks, 12 games.
Yeah. I mean, I guess mathematically they certainly are. But I think a lot of it's a mirage. The Giants, I still believe, are one of the worst teams in the league. The statistics back that out. So I don't see any sort of miracle playoff run for the Giants.
I'd say the two things I like for the Giants here, which is number one, that like you have competent coaches and Tommy DeVito's gotten better week to week compared to like the mess that's gone on with the Jet offense. And number two, like you don't have players not wanting to go play if they're called upon.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Dable's a great coach. I do think the team plays hard for him. I think the defense has played really hard. And, unfortunately for you, I think DeVito's better than any quarterback you've got on your roster. But still, this is a pretty flawed team. I mean, on point differential, they're one of the worst teams in the league. I think Washington's the only team that's worse, and it's by about a point. So this is not a very good team.
Yeah, it's certainly not here. But what's interesting here is that the NFC playoff race, unlike the AFC, where you have every team is above 500, you have teams at 500 in the AFC out of the playoff picture, including two teams with 7-5 records here. The NFC stinks outside of our teams.
Not a good conference. If the Giants could pull off a miracle and beat Green Bay Monday night, then I think things get really interesting. But they have a lot of teams to hop to get to that 7th seed.
Yeah, it's crazy. Looking here, 6 and 7, the NFC are both 6 and 6. It's Minnesota and Green Bay. And then the Rams and Seahawks are 6 and 6. Tampa and New Orleans are 5 and 7. The Giants and Bears are still hanging there 4 and 8. They're both technically in the mix here. And the Giants have games ahead of them against Green Bay, the Rams, and the Saints. So if you're a pious high optimist and say this team can build momentum, they have those 2 wins and go on a run, win those 3 games, and hope you get one against the Eagles, maybe you're 8-9. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, remember though, they lost to Seattle, so they have that tiebreaker lost. They have to play the Eagles twice, so that's going to be rough. If there's any chance of a miracle run, they have to beat the Packers. Yeah. I think
that's easier said than done here because the Packers, we saw them just beat the Chiefs at home on Sunday Night Football here. And
yeah, they're playing really well. I don't see it. I don't see the Giants winning that game, but I think that's the only way that they would have any chance to make a run at the playoffs. And I'm not even sure I want them to make a run at the playoffs, to be honest with you.
It's going to torpedo the draft position if they do that.
They've already hurt their draft position with these 2 wins the last couple of games. But yeah, it is true that they do play. They play 3 of their remaining 5 games against teams who are ahead of them, and the other 2 against the Eagles. So yeah, if they can win those 3 and split with the Eagles, they should get in. But I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and obviously, before we even get to like that conversation here, you mentioned it. The Packer game is a must-win if you want to have any dream of, oh my God, we can make the miracle comeback here. So, like, what do you think has to happen if they're going to beat the Packers?
It's hard to see them beating anybody because they don't score points. Let's not forget that they beat the Patriots 10-7 on a missed field goal. I guess the only way that they could see them beating the Packers is similar to how they beat the Commanders a couple of weeks ago. If they can make the Packers turn the ball over a lot, get excellent field position and capitalize on that, then yeah, I guess they could win. But they don't score. They just do not score points.
Yeah, they don't score points. That's the other thing you want to hope for that game here with the Packers. You have to look at their schedule here that Green Bay has like some big games ahead of them. Like they just came off the win at the Chiefs. They beat the Lions. They've won 3 in a row. You you're hoping maybe they come in too high on themselves, that they read the press conference and think, oh, you're making the playoffs now. You're great. And then they just overlook the Giants. That's another thing you could be in your favor.
Sure, you can hope for that, but let's not forget this is a team, the Giants. They have scored 20 points in 2 games all season, 20 or more. 2 games. That's almost unheard of in the modern NFL. The only other team who I think in the league is like that is your team.
Yeah, I had to look at how many times the Jets scored 20. No, they haven't scored more than 13. I think it's like week 6.
Yeah, and that loss that the Giants had to the Jets ultimately may do them in. That was a winnable game.
That and the Buffalo game. If you get those 2 games, you're right there and you're in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, but that is the NFL though. It's that competitive. But I don't know. Let's not get crazy here. This is a team that does not score any points. I know they won a couple of games in a row, but again, like I said, they beat New England on a missed field goal. I don't see it. If it happens, it would be fun, sure, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Just worth pointing out here that they can at least have the conversation, which is nothing the Jets can say right now.
It's better than being the Jets right now, sure.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
Yeah, I'm looking up the Jet number right now. They scored 20 or more points 1, 2, 3, 4 times this year.
Yeah, that's better than the Giants, believe it or not.
Yeah, but since they came back for the bye, it's in 13, 6, 12, 6, 13, and 13.
It's brutal. It's brutal. As far as total points scored in the season, from what I can see, the Giants are the second lowest team in the NFL behind only the Patriots. The Patriots have scored 11 less than the Giants.
Yeah, it's not good company you want to be in right now.
No, and that team has a terrible offense as well.
All right, so since you're here, I want to check back on our over-unders we did for baseball. We never got a chance to check in on that prior now, but
yeah.
Let's check you. This did not go too well for you, unfortunately. You went 1-5. You barely got the Mariners over 87.5. They hit 88 wins. Astros over was a loss. Rangers won the World Series. You got them under 82.5.
Yeah, that one, the Rangers one is a tough one.
Padres over was a sound one preseason. They just didn't fire for 4 months. That didn't help. Marlins under 76.5 was also a weird one because they won a ton of run games to hurt you there.
Yeah. The Marlins, they won a bunch of close games. Padres was a disaster. Tigers too. The Tigers played a lot, especially in the second half when they played better than I thought they would.
Yeah. I won it because I went 4-2 on the year. Red Sox under 70.5. I snuck that one in. They got 78. Cardinals and Mets were my big losses on the over side, but under on the Angels, over on the Pirates, under on the Guardians. So my other 3 winners.
Yeah, it was good for you. For me, that's rough to look at that, having the Texas Rangers as the under, and then they go on and win the World Series.
Yeah, that's a tough one to come back from.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll see how we do next year. We'll see if we can do a little better here. But it's the reason why you're here, which is the NFL picks. I'm gonna go get our recap from last week when my friend Christopher, not the Mad Dog Russo, was here doing the picks here, and he went a perfect 3-0 in week 13. He had the Seahawks getting 8.5 against the Cowboys on Thursday night. They almost won the game outright. You have the Packers getting 6.5. They did win outright. You have the Dolphins laying 9.5, and they absolutely murdered the Commanders. So 3-0 for Chris.
Wow.
Yeah. I had a solid 2. I went 2-1. I had the 49ers laying 2.5 in Philly. They won the game big. I had the Lions laying 4. I thought that was going to be very, very easy early. The Saints made sweat out. They still covered. Broncos 3.5. I had a shot there at the end. Russell took that pick in the end zone, though, so that was a loss for me.
Yeah, not a bad week, though.
Yeah, so 2-1 on the year. The Challenger 21-18. I'm 23-16. So good picks coming out of this podcast this year.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. I'll try and hold my end of the bargain.
All right. So as the guest, you're up first here. Where are you going with pick number 1?
So I'm actually going with pick number 1 somewhere that you went last week. I like the Lions on the road at the Bears. I know it's a division game, and I know the Lions are road favorites, so that's always tough in a division game. But I think the Lions are a pretty good team. I think the country kind of got a negative taste of them over Thanksgiving, but but I think they're a pretty good team overall. I don't like the Bears, so I like the Lions to cover the 3 and get a victory on the road.
I like that one too. I do think people forgot how bad the Bears are because the Bears were off last week. The Lions nearly gave away a huge lead against the Saints, but 3 points against that team, I'll take it all day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. Again, division game scares me a little bit, but I think Detroit's likely to win that game, and I think it's only 3 they can get that cover.
All right, where are you going for pick 2?
Pick 2, I am going into the NFC East. I'm going to the Sunday night football game. I like the Eagles and the +3.5. I think the Eagles are going to come out motivated after that really embarrassment against the 49ers. They got their doors kicked in. I think they're going to come out motivated. I'm getting 3 in the hook. So I could see this being a 3-point game either way. So I kind of I think I'm going to cover either way. So give me the Eagles.
Yeah, I love the hook for you there. I do think like if it was 3, it was a stay away from me. But if I had the hook, I'm definitely taking the underdog there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'd take the Eagles to win, but I think they could certainly cover the 3.5 because I think it's a 3-point game either way.
All right, so where are you going with your last pick?
Last pick, give me the Browns -3 at home against Jacksonville. I think this is the Trevor Lawrence letdown for Jacksonville. I expect them to come out and be shaky. And Cleveland's a pretty good team. They can control the football. So I like the Browns at home there when laying the 3.
Yeah, it's a good spot to get the Browns too, because I mean you got Jacksonville going on the road off a short week without their quarterback. Like there's a big chance they just don't show up for that game.
Yeah, now I know the Browns have had 2 pretty bad weeks in a row. Got their doors blown in 2 weeks in a row too. So hoping they come home and take care of business and get a win.
All right, so your picks are on the board now. I'm up now here. Pick number 1. I'm going to start out with one team. I'm coming off a bye. I feel very confident. I love the Ravens laying 7 at home against the Rams here. I don't think the Rams are that good. I think they take advantage of Seattle stinking on their end a few times here. I know they're 500, but flying across the country, 1:00 game. Ravens are a much more complete team. Ravens, I think the biggest threat in the AFC right now is to get the Super Bowl, probably win it. I think here it's a bad spot for the Rams. I don't think they're nearly as talented as the Ravens are. I think this is a double-digit win for both. I think the Ravens pick 1.
I like that pick. I think the Ravens have kind of slipped a little bit under the radar with how good they are. But like you said, yeah, they're a very good team. They're certainly in contention for the 1 seed in the AFC, and I can see them covering that.
All right, that's pick number 1. Pick number 2, I think the Raiders getting 3 at home against the Vikings here. I know Vikings they're both coming off their byes here. Raiders have been competitive under Antonio Pierce, but the Vikings here, Josh Dobbs scared me on Monday night against the Bears. He was awful in that game. They end up going to the bye. They don't know who's with the quarterback. I know Kevin O'Connell's going to evaluate after the bye week. I know they're probably getting Jefferson back with the help, but I do think that this is a spot here where I don't like them going on the road as favorites. I'll get the Vegas at home as an underdog. I'll take the 3 points. I'll take Vegas here.
Yeah, I don't love the Raiders, but I think this game's kind of a coin flip. I'd be concerned about the Raiders not covering that number, but it is only 3. So, yeah, I could see it.
That's pick number 2 here. Pick number 3. I'm going to one of the bigger games of the week. I'm taking the Chiefs laying 2.5 at home against Buffalo. I know there's a lot of concern with the Chief offense of late, but the Buffalo defense is a perfect fix. And Buffalo's getting gashed by good teams all season long here. Buffalo has been in a free fall. They're 6-6. I know they desperately need this game, but Kansas City, I think, at home with a lot to prove after that Packer loss. They're going to come out, make a big statement here. I think they're going to win this game by a touchdown. And the free fall continues to the Bills, who find ways to lose these games late. I'm laying less than the field goal all the way with the Chiefs, pick 3.
I like that pick. I agree with everything you said. I think the Chiefs are going to come out and take care of business.
Yeah. Plus, Buffalo has shown a tendency to, give away a lot of games in the last year or so. So I could see this trend continue where they were up by 3 late. The Chiefs go get a touchdown, win by 4, and cover the number.
I completely agree. Buffalo's an interesting team because, at some point we're all going to have to they are what they are. It feels like for years now we've been waiting for Buffalo to make that big leap, and just hasn't happened.
Yeah. After they lost the Bengals, I bet on them to miss the playoffs. I feel very good about that hitting right now.
On Buffalo?
Yeah, Buffalo missing.
Yeah. I think you should feel good on that. But it's been a bunch of years now that that everybody says this is the year for Buffalo, and it just hasn't happened.
Yeah, so to reset the picks here for the week, Phil's taking the Lions, laying 3 on the road in Chicago. Eagles getting 3.5 in Dallas on Sunday Football against the Cowboys. The Browns laying 3 at home against the Trevor Lawrence-less Jacksonville Jaguars. My picks, the Chiefs laying 2.5 at home against Buffalo. The Raiders getting 3 at home against the Minnesota Vikings. And the Ravens laying 7 at home against the LA Rams flying cross country. Those are your picks for week number 14 here on the podcast. We are almost done with the season here, but next week I'm going to be joined by Kevin Lillis here. We're going to sort of dissect is more of the Jet dysfunction at this point next week.
It's brutal. I'm sorry. I hope Aaron Rodgers is the answer, but it is brutal. If you're the Jets, it's just end the season. Get to next season.
It's wild too because Aaron Rodgers is the only thing really separating Regina has lost 6 in a row to end the season. And very well could you lose 10 in a row to end the season from not being fired.
Yeah, I think they're going to do whatever Rodgers wants.
Yeah.
And at some level, you almost can't blame them.
Yeah. Because they built
they built this team around Rodgers.
Yeah. And I think, like, especially considering, like, right now, I think Rodgers is basically running that franchise.
Yeah. I mean, what do you feel about it? I feel like, why not give the regime and Rodgers a chance next year? What's the worst that could happen?
The thing to me I look at is, like, if you want to move on, they're so financially tied to Rodgers where, like, it will destroy their salary cap if they try and move on from him or do something he doesn't like. He says, okay, I'm retiring. I think you kind of have to, where they put themselves in bed, Rodgers. You have to appease him and give him a shot with it because you can't really get out of the money.
Yeah, I agree. I think they have no choice but to give him a shot for 1 year, see what happens.
Yeah, and I feel like at this rate, like if it stinks after this year, you're gonna blow it up anyway with him and try and get another quarterback here. Although I will say, if they do end up in a position where they get one of these young quarterbacks on the board, it's gonna be very interesting to see if they try and take one.
I think you have to. I think you'd have to with or without Rodgers.
Without Rodgers, you definitely would, but with
him,
but
even with, I think you'd have to take him. He could sit in the bench for a year.
Yeah, but the thing you worry about that situation is like I said, Rodgers runs the franchise here. Like, is he gonna sit there be happy with, hey, we're gonna take a quarterback who's not gonna play behind you, where you're trying to win in 1 or 2 years of Marvin Harrison Jr. or a left tackle protect you?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I guess it depends on where you're sitting, but if you have a chance to get one of these top quarterbacks, I think it's hard not to pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with the Jets down the stretch here. Phil, thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Mike.